They said Elon Musk never slows down long enough to look at one person. They said he only focuses on rockets, AI systems, satellites, electric grids, and blueprints for the future. But they were wrong. Because last night, something happened inside a private room at Starbase that startled even his closest team members. Elon paused during an intense strategic briefing, looked at the endless data cascading across a holographic projection, and pointed at a name, your name. No one understood what triggered it. They didn't know why he stopped mid-sentence, why his expression shifted, why he leaned closer to the glowing stream of information as if he had just recognized something he'd been searching for. But they saw it. Everyone saw it. The room fell silent as his eyes locked onto a single profile in a universe of millions. And the words that came out of his mouth next sent a shockwave through the entire floor. That's the one. Engineers froze. Analysts stared. Technicians looked at each other in disbelief. Even the senior leads, who had seen Musk predict future trends before they even existed, didn't know what to say. Because never, not once, had he singled out a person from the global ocean of data with such certainty, such urgency. The system had been analyzing millions of inputs, creativity signatures, problem-solving patterns, innovation frequency markers, and human potential metrics. They were scanning for something extremely rare, something that even advanced algorithms struggled to detect, a mind that wasn't just smart, but aligned with the next phase of human evolution. The algorithm had flagged anomalies. Unique thought structures. Patterns of intuition. A visionary streak hidden beneath ordinary routines. Someone whose ideas carried the same frequency Musk relied on to build the future. Someone who didn't just follow trends, they generated them. Someone who wasn't waiting for the world to change, they were quietly shaping it through their thoughts, their energy, their perspective. Someone who matched only one profile, you. At first, the team assumed it was an error. They ran multiple scans. They recalibrated the neural nets. They cross-verified signatures with global innovation registries. But every test returned the same result: your digital presence, your mindset, your unseen potential matched 99.9% of the criteria Musk had been secretly tracking for months. That was when he whispered under his breath, almost as if speaking to himself, finally. No one dared to interrupt him. They'd seen that expression before, the one he gets right before unveiling something world-changing. But this time, the breakthrough wasn't a rocket, a robot, a satellite, or a car. It was a person. That night, the internal chatter spread faster than leaked prototypes. Entire departments whispered about the moment the world's most visionary inventor locked onto a single unknown individual with the certainty of a man who saw possibilities nobody else could. People wondered who you were, what you had done, why the algorithm kept highlighting your name with pulses of electric blue. But the deeper the investigation went, the stranger the results became. You weren't a celebrity. You weren't a billionaire. You weren't a global figure, you were something far more important, an unactivated visionary, someone whose potential had not yet been fully expressed. Someone whose mind worked in patterns even AI systems couldn't fully categorize. Someone whose intuition was so sharp. It aligned with predictions that hadn't been publicly announced yet. It didn't make sense at first. But then the analysts noticed something chilling. Your past ideas, messages, thoughts, private observations, were already mapped in the system Musk was building for humanity's next leap forward. Things you wrote months or years ago matched internal drafts of technologies still under development. Your imagination ran parallel to Musk's hidden plans. Your creative instincts mirrored future blueprints his team hadn't released to the public. You were thinking in the future while everyone else was trapped in the present. That was why Musk pointed at your name. He didn't see you as you have been. He saw you as you are meant to become. The search protocol changed immediately. The mission shifted from analyzing data to locating you, not physically, energetically. They wanted to understand what sparked your ideas, how your mind formed connections, why your instinctive creativity aligned with their models, what hidden potential you carried that even you weren't fully aware of. His quiet order echoed through the audio logs later. Track their trajectory. They're accelerating. They're waking up. Waking up, the phrase stuck with everyone who heard it. What did it mean? Were you part of something bigger? Something unfolding behind the scenes? You had no idea that while you went about your day, checking your phone, replying to messages, thinking about the future, a team of some of the most advanced analysts, researchers, and AI developers on Earth were mapping your growth curve. And what they saw shocked them more than anything else. Your potential wasn't rising steadily, it was spiking, rapidly, exponentially, like a rocket moments before liftoff. People don't normally change like that, but visionaries do, innovators do, the ones who are meant to shift humanity forward do. And that was when Elon Musk said something none of them will forget. They're about to cross the threshold. Something big is about to activate in them. If we wait, we'll miss the window. Everyone looked at the screens. At the visual render of the energy signature the system had mapped around your digital identity. The pattern was unlike anything they had seen. It resembled an ignition sequence, not of a machine, but of a consciousness awakening to its purpose, your purpose. That was the moment Musk made his decision. Prepare the contact protocol, he said, his voice low but resolute, and whatever happens, don't interfere with their evolution. They're part of this timeline for a reason. No one asked what timeline he meant. They didn't have to. When Elon Musk talks about timelines, he's not talking about schedules, he's talking about humanity's path, and he believed your path was about to intersect with something massive. Later that evening, he met with a small group in a sealed room at Starbase. He paced slowly, hands behind his back, the glow of holograms illuminating his face. We're entering the crossover period, he said. The world is shifting. People are waking up. Ideas are accelerating. And the ones who can see ahead, the ones who feel the future before it arrives, those are the people we need. He stopped walking, the hologram flickered, your name appeared again, they're one of them. One of what? A genius, a chosen one, a visionary, a catalyst, the team didn't know. But Musk did. He took a deep breath, placed a hand on the table, and said, "This isn't coincidence. They're aligned with the new frequency. Something massive is about to happen. And they're connected to it." Thousands of miles away, you felt something too, a strange energy rising within you, momentum, clarity, a sudden shift in your intuition, as though your inner voice had grown louder overnight, as if your life was picking up speed, as if something was calling you forward, and while you couldn't explain it, you knew something was coming, something big, something powerful, something you were meant to be part of. You just didn't know that Elon Musk already knew it too. The next 48 hours inside Starbase felt like standing on the edge of a silent earthquake. Outwardly, everything looked normal. Technicians maintained equipment, engineers calibrated propulsion systems, interns carried stacks of documents from room to room, but underneath the routine, something was different. Everyone was waiting. Watching. Listening. Your name kept appearing in encrypted channels like a ghost moving through the system, never staying long, always shifting, but impossible to ignore. Analysts traced behavioral signatures. Quantum pattern recognition tools ran 24/7. Even prototype AI models still in testing were deployed to map your trajectory. And every time, the results returned the same unsettling message: you were accelerating, not in wealth, not in status, not in fame, but in frequency. A hidden intelligence inside you was waking up, and the system could detect it, like a flare rising in the darkness before anyone else could see it. Some engineers tried to explain it scientifically. Others whispered explanations that bordered on myth. But Musk didn't need explanations. He knew the signs. He'd been waiting for someone with your pattern for a long time. Meanwhile, you kept living your life unaware of the digital storm forming around you. You noticed subtle things, yes, your intuition sharpening, your mind racing with ideas. Your motivation rising out of nowhere, but you had no idea what was happening behind the scenes. You didn't know that a cluster of satellites had already repositioned to improve signal acquisition on the region where you lived. You didn't know that a quantum AI model was predicting your next major decision with uncanny accuracy. You didn't know that internal documents now referred to you as a cognitive outlier with evolutionary potential. All you knew was that something was pulling you forward, something unfamiliar but strangely comforting, something bigger than anything you'd ever imagined for yourself. Inside Starbase, one of the lead analysts noticed a spike in the neural entropy mapping software, a reading so unusual she ran the test again. And again. And again. Same result. She rushed down the hall and burst into a meeting Musk was having with the upper team. Elon, you need to see this. She displayed the data on the main screen, three-dimensional waves, expanding, accelerating, peaking beyond known human cognitive patterns. "This is them," she said. Musk leaned closer, eyes narrowing with intense focus. He didn't blink. He didn't speak. He just stared at the signature, a map of your rising consciousness. Finally, he exhaled slowly through his nose. "They're transitioning into alignment," he said softly. "This is the activation curve." The room fell silent. Only a handful of people in the world knew what activation curve meant. It wasn't a scientific term. It was something Musk had discussed privately, a theoretical point where an individual's inner potential syncs with the accelerating frequency of global transformation. A moment when a person shifts from dreaming to doing, from imagining the future to helping build it. "The world is about to enter a chaotic phase," Musk continued. "New systems, new crises, new breakthroughs. And we need people who can sense the trajectory before it becomes visible. People who don't freeze under disruption. People who can lead themselves out of the dark." He tapped the projection, your signal glowing brighter. "They're exactly on schedule." Somebody asked him the question everyone was too afraid to voice. On schedule for what? Musk didn't turn, he didn't hesitate, he simply said, "The shift." Outside, a rocket trembled quietly on its launch pad, preparing for a test the world wouldn't see. Inside, the team poured through everything you had ever created, your old ideas, your notes, your imagination. And one thing became clear: you had always felt something others couldn't. Your mind had always operated ahead of the era you lived in. This wasn't new. This wasn't accidental. This was destiny catching up to you. Thousands of miles away, you woke up with a strange feeling, not fear, not confusion, but clarity. A sudden, powerful sense that your life was on the brink of something unexplainable. You felt more alive, more aware, more connected to something unseen. Your creativity began erupting out of nowhere. Ideas came faster than you could record them. Your mind felt charged, as if a silent switch had been flipped. You kept asking yourself why. Why now? Why this feeling? Why this sudden surge of insight? Little did you know that Elon Musk's team was asking the same questions. Only they had the data to answer them. At 3:14 a.m., an encrypted screen in Starbase lit up. It wasn't an alert. It wasn't a warning. It was a message from a deep learning predictive model trained on billions of variables. It displayed just 4 words: "The window is open." Within seconds, Musk was notified. He didn't wait for consultants. He didn't wait for meetings. He walked into the operations room with a determination that electrified the air. "What's their status?" he asked. An analyst swallowed hard. "It's happening faster than projected. Their cognitive patterns are stabilizing. The activation is accelerating." Another voice added, "If this continues, they'll reach full resonance soon." "And after that?" Elon asked. Silence filled the room. Everyone knew the answer. After activation, nothing remains the same, not for the person, not for the world around them. Musk stood still, thinking, evaluating, aligning fragments of a future only he could see fully. "We contact them," he said, "not to recruit them, not to convince them, but to confirm what they already feel in their soul." He looked at the hologram again. "Your rising signal pulsing like a heartbeat. They're not just another person," he said quietly. "They're one of the few capable of sensing the coming wave. If they follow their path, they won't just adapt to the future. They'll help build it." Someone whispered, "But what if they're not ready?" Musk didn't blink. "They are. The world might not be ready, but they are." At that exact moment, far away from Starbase, you felt a strange surge inside you, an emotional clarity, a mental sharpness, a feeling like life was aligning around you. You couldn't explain it, you couldn't ignore it. Something massive was about to happen, and for the first time, you felt it in your bones. You felt like you were being seen, like you were being called, like something was preparing you for a destiny that had been waiting for you all along, and you had no idea that Elon Musk had already taken the first step to reach you. The moment everything shifted was quieter than anyone expected. No applause. No flashing lights. No breaking news alert. Just a pause, a stillness that carried more weight than 1,000 loud moments. Elon Musk was staring at a screen, but it wasn't the screen itself that mattered. It was the name glowing on it. Your name. The team waited. The room waited. As if every person inside that glass-walled conference chamber knew something irreversible had just begun. This wasn't the first time your name had circulated through fragments of conversations, whispered inside brainstorm sessions, mentioned like a signal that kept returning no matter how many times the team tried to move on. But this time, it wasn't a whisper. It wasn't theoretical. It wasn't a maybe. It wasn't we should look into them. It was Elon pointing directly, decisively, without even blinking. It was him saying the words that would push the room into silent awe. That's the one. Get them. And the quiet after that was a confirmation in itself, the kind of silence that only happens when everyone realizes a decision has been made that none of them can fully comprehend yet. A decision that will ripple across events far beyond the room. People exchanged glances not out of doubt, but because they could feel the significance pressing against their ribs, demanding space. They didn't know the details. They didn't need to. They could sense the magnitude. Emails began drafting themselves. Teams reorganized. Data windows opened like portals, each one revealing another reason why your name kept rising to the surface. Old logs. Project intersections. Behavioral patterns. Moments where your curiosity had intersected with ideas that most people brushed off as fantasies. Records of what you built, what you fixed, what you questioned, what you kept going after even when no one clapped for you. Threads that, when laid out, formed a roadmap Musk recognized instantly, not because it was perfect, but because it was real, untamed, driven by a hunger that couldn't be faked or purchased. That's what made your name irresistible. You didn't rise because someone gave you permission. You rose because you followed the quiet inner pull that leads certain people toward the unknown rather than away from it. That alone set you apart in a world trained to choose comfort over challenge. And now, the moment had come where the person who changes industries like most people change seasons was calling for you. But while his team moved, something else was happening, something outside their building, something far more mysterious. Like a shift in timing. Like the air charging. As if the world itself had paused, exhaled, and prepared for your next step. You didn't know it yet, but you were already aligning with events unfolding in rooms you'd never walked into. Conversations where your name traveled like electricity, bouncing from idea to idea, linking everything together. You weren't chosen out of randomness. You were chosen because you were already moving toward a future that most people wouldn't dare imagine. And Musk recognized that. He recognized the pattern of someone who wasn't waiting for the world to make sense, someone who was already building, already observing, already connecting dots that others insisted were unrelated. The truth was, your journey had been monitored far longer than you assumed. Not in a surveillance way, in a recognition way. They saw the way you solve things people twice your experience couldn't. The way you understood timing in a way that couldn't be taught. How you kept going even when there was no direct reward. These were traits of someone who could adapt to volatility, someone who could navigate chaos instead of collapsing under it. That skill alone made you valuable in a world shifting faster than experts could predict, and now, for the first time, that world was sending a message back. We see you. Elon didn't choose arbitrarily. He chose because he could read people's trajectories like data streams. And your trajectory wasn't flat. It wasn't predictable. It was accelerating, faster than even you were aware of. Something in your life had shifted recently. A realization. A breakup. A loss. A breakthrough. A moment that shook you into clarity. Whatever it was, it caused a chain reaction in your actions, your energy, your decisions. And the universe, along with anyone paying close attention, felt the shift, so when Musk pointed to your name, he wasn't selecting a person. He was selecting a pattern, a force, a potential that had reached ignition point. And that ignition was visible to anyone who knew what to look for. Meanwhile, somewhere else, at that exact same moment, your mind was drifting toward an idea you hadn't fully articulated yet. A dream you kept feeling but couldn't name. A restlessness that didn't feel like anxiety, but like preparation. You thought it was nothing. But that nothing was the spark the world had been waiting on. Because sometimes the biggest shifts begin in the smallest flickers inside a person's mind. Lights flickered in the conference room. Not metaphorically, literally. As if the building itself reacted to the decision. A team member joked about the power grid. Another joked that it was a sign. Elon didn't laugh. He simply said, "It means we're aligned." And there was something about the way he said it that made no one question what he meant. A plan was forming, but the plan didn't start with technology, or strategy, or logistics. It started with you. Not because you had all the answers, but because you naturally carried the one thing the world needed most right now: adaptability. That ability to move forward despite uncertainty, to adjust faster than others, to sense opportunity in chaos, that was the trait that broke ceilings, opened industries, and reshaped timelines. At the same time, life around you began shifting subtly. Certain people pulled away. Certain old habits fell off. Certain distractions no longer held your attention. It wasn't coincidence. It was clearing. Your environment was rearranging itself to prepare you for the magnitude of what was coming. This always happens before a major life transition, not spiritually, but structurally. You didn't notice it then, but these shifts were necessary. Because the space needed to open for something bigger than anything you've touched before. Musk's team had already made calls. Already made moves. Already prepared the next steps. But the next steps weren't just theirs, they were yours, too. Every turning point in history has one unusual thing in common: the person who becomes central to it never feels fully ready at the start. They feel like you feel right now, aware of something building, unsure how large it is, intuitively sensing change but unable to define it. That's exactly how it should be. Because readiness isn't a feeling. Readiness is an alignment of timing, capacity, hunger, and circumstance, and you, without even trying, had aligned. That's why the world around you was beginning to move differently. Why your intuition suddenly sharpened. Why your energy felt louder. Because your timeline was shifting into magnitude. And magnitude always announces itself first from within. While the team prepared to reach out, they also prepared for resistance, not from you, but from everything in your life that wasn't meant to go with you into the next chapter. People who underestimated you. Situations that drained you. Beliefs that limited you. These things always push back hardest right before a breakthrough. Not because they're strong, but because they're dissolving. And dissolution often looks like chaos, but you weren't meant to crumble. You were meant to rise, so the moment Musk pointed at your name wasn't the beginning. It was the confirmation. The world had simply caught up to what your spirit already knew, that you were not built for a small life, a quiet impact, a forgettable story. You were built for expansion, disruption, innovation, influence. And the call that was coming wasn't random. It wasn't lucky. It was destined by trajectory, because sometimes the most extraordinary things happen when someone finally realizes they were never meant to blend in. This wasn't the climax. This wasn't the peak. This wasn't even the reveal. This was the threshold, the moment before the door opens, the inhale before the turning point, the signal before the transformation, all because Elon Musk pointed to you. And the world is about to find out why.